distinguished session chair, my fellow speakers, and all the participants. My name is Vishnu Pandey, and I am a grad student in Water Resources program at the University of Idaho. I'm also working as a research assistant at University of Idaho Twin Falls Research and Extension Center. The goal of my talk today is to introduce some of the nitrogen recovery technologies that are currently being studied for their use in recovering nitrogen from animal manure. The livestock industry over the last few decades has seen a major transformation. It has shifted from traditional to a more intensive form of animal rearing. Today, we see a lot of confined animal feeding operations that have a large number of animals in a confined space. As the global demands of meat and meat products continue to increase, the livestock industry is expected to grow even bigger. These intensive livestock farms produce a huge amount of manure in a confined space. The nitrogen in manure has been linked to causing several environmental problems. The EPA has identified the livestock sector as the major emitter of ammonia in the atmosphere. Similarly, there is a growing concern among environmentalists that nitrogen in manure is contaminating the groundwater. So, it is essential to remove nitrogen from manure. The additional advantage of recovering manure nitrogen is that it can be converted to nitrogenous fertilizers. So there is an opportunity to generate some revenue here. Depending upon the source and manure type, the animal manure contains about 2 to 40 pounds per 1,000 gallons of recoverable ammoniacal nitrogen. This data shows that there is a significant amount of nitrogen present in manure that can be recovered. Presented here are some of the technologies that have been used in industrial wastewater treatment plants to remove and recover nitrogen from wastewater. There are no separate technologies to remove nitrogen from animal manure, and studies are currently being made to test the applicability of these technologies in livestock farms. Although the composition of wastewater and animal manure is different, studies have claimed that these same technologies can be used to recover nitrogen from animal manure as well. So I'd like to briefly talk about each of these technologies. The first one is gas permeable membrane technology. This is a relatively new technology with a simple working mechanism. The figure on the left shows how the system works. Here, a gas permeable membrane is placed either above or below the surface of the manure, and an acid, primarily the sulfuric acid, is circulated inside the membrane. So what happens is that ammonia in the manure enters into the membrane based on differential partial pressure. This ammonia then dissolves in the sulfuric acid inside the membrane to form ammonium sulfate. This ammonium sulfate can then be recovered and sold as a fertilizer. The figure on the right, it shows a tubular gas permeable membrane used during an experimental study. Several studies have been conducted to evaluate the performance of this technology. And as we can see here, the ammonium recovery percentage of this technology is very high. Another advantage of this technology is that it can also be integrated into the anaerobic digesters, which can help to increase the overall biogas yield. Membrane fouling is the major drawback of this technology. The membrane pores might be blocked by manure particles, which can then limit the transfer of ammonia. Therefore, regular cleaning or even replacement of the membrane might be necessary. Next is ammonia stripping technology. Whenever we go near a wastewater treatment plant or an anaerobic digestion facility, we can see this kind of towers. These are ammonia stripping towers that strip ammonia from wastewater. Ammonia stripping can be of different types, but they basically serve the same purpose. The figure on the left shows the working mechanism of a typical air stripping process. In this process, manure wastewater flows downward from the top of a stripping tank and a current of air is passed from the bottom. This current of air blows away the ammonia present in manure, which can then be captured in acids to produce ammonium fertilizers. Numerous studies have been conducted on the ammonia stripping process, and these studies have reported a satisfactory ammonia removal. But the major issue with this technology is that it is costly and also time consuming. Next is ion exchange and adsorption technology. The first picture here shows a typical ion exchange process. In this process, some porous ion exchanging chemical compounds, also known as adsorbents, are taken inside a tank and manure wastewater is introduced from the top. Then what happens is that the ammonium ions present in manure exchange with some of the ions in the adsorbents. And when these adsorbents are saturated with ammonium ions, they are taken out and a new batch of adsorbents are refilled in the tank. A variety of chemical compounds can be used as an adsorbent. The picture in the middle is of clinophthalate. It is a common zeolite that is used in the industrial ion exchange process. Now, there is little literature available on the use of this technology to recover nitrogen from animal manure. And in the little work that has been done so far, the results are not that encouraging. The cheaper cost and easy availability of zeolite rocks are some upsides of this process. But the major issue with this technology is that the ammonia recovery is low. Likewise, other different ions present in manure often interfere with the ion exchange process. The cavities in adsorbents can also be blocked by suspended particles in manure. So this technology has a lot of challenges. Next is Strovite Precipitation technology. The figure on the left shows a typical Strovite precipitation process. Animal manure generally consists of several ions, including magnesium, phosphate, and ammonium. These three ions naturally react with each other to form magnesium, ammonium phosphate in manure. And when the manure becomes supersaturated, the crystals of these magnesium, ammonium phosphates are formed. These crystals are also known as strovites. The figure on the right is the picture of strovite crystals obtained during a lab experiment. These crystals can be used as slow-releasing fertilizers. According to the studies, more than 90% of ammonium ions in the manure can be recovered by this technique. The major positive aspect of this technique is that both nitrogen as well as phosphorus can be recovered from manure at the same time as strovites. And as I mentioned earlier, these strovites can be used as slow-releasing fertilizers. But the problem with this technology is that the manure does not contain enough magnesium ions to produce a large amount of strovite crystals. So in order to get more crystals, magnesium ions need to be added to the manure from outside. The interference of calcium ions present in manure is another major problem with this technology. Similarly, a high concentration of suspended solids in animal manure can slow down the strovite formation process. Next up is reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis has been extensively used in water purification and wastewater treatment plants. But very few studies have been made on the use of this technology to recover manure nitrogen. The limited studies that have been made so far suggest that this technology can remove a fair amount of manure nitrogen. One positive aspect of this process is that not only ammonia, it removes most of the solid particles from manure. So it also helps in reducing the volume of manure. On the other hand, this process misses the opportunity to capture ammonia and produce fertilizers from it. And because of membrane fouling and blocking by manure particles, pre-treatment of manure is very important for the success of this process. Next one is wet scrubber technology. Now, unlike other technologies, wet scrubber technology has actually been adopted by some livestock farms. These are generally fitted in the ventilations of livestock housing. They trap ammonia coming out of livestock houses and prevent their release into the atmosphere. In this process, the gaseous mixture coming out of livestock farms enters the bottom of the scrubber tower, and as it makes its way up in the tower, scrubbing liquid that can dissolve ammonia is sprayed from the top of the tower. So when ammonia in the gaseous mixture comes in contact with the scrubbing liquid, it dissolves in it and comes out from the bottom of the tower. Wet scrubbers are simple and effective options to reduce ammonia emissions from animal buildings. But lower ammonia recovery is a major drawback of this technology. Another problem is that these scrubbers are often clogged with dust particles. The last method of nitrogen removal I am going to talk about today is the biological method. Biological method of nitrogen removal has been in practice for a very long time. There are several groups of bacteria in nature that can convert ammonia present in manure to free nitrogen gas. Biological method uses the ability of these organisms to remove ammoniacal nitrogen from manure. Several studies have shown that the biological method is an effective method for removing nitrogen from manure. This method usually provides high ammonia removal percentage. But there are also some challenges to the success of this method. The bacterial community is sensitive to the change in several manure parameters like temperature, pH, and oxygen levels. Researchers have argued that this method requires high energy inputs and therefore is costly. This method also misses the opportunity to recover nitrogen and generate some revenue. So to conclude, these are some of the nitrogen removal technologies that are currently being studied for their use in livestock sector. As I mentioned earlier, these technologies have their own positives and negatives. Although these technologies have already been used in industrial wastewater plants, their use in livestock sector is limited. Studies have claimed that these technologies can indeed be used in livestock farms to remove manure nitrogen. But most of these studies were conducted in small-scale reactors, and whether the technologies can simulate the results in full-scale livestock farms is yet to be seen. Because of uncertainty over their success, cost, and sustainability, the livestock farms are found to be hesitant to adopt these technologies. So the efforts to devise an efficient, low-cost, and sustainable technology that can recover manure nitrogen are still ongoing in the scientific community. Before wrapping up my presentation, I would like to acknowledge my major advisor, Dr. Lila Chen, for allowing me to participate in this project. I would also like to thank USDA, NIFA, and Western Share for providing grants for this project. Finally, I would like to thank you all for listening.